Good evening, Reno, and welcome to the Folk Legacy. If you like folk music, this is the place to be. Tonight's performance is an official Art Town Festival event presented by the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, also known as OLLI, a program of the University of Nevada, Reno, and we are broadcasting live and worldwide from the OLLI stage on West Moana Lane in Reno, Nevada. This is the last of 5 Art Town events sponsored by OLLI. So before we begin, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who helped make these events a success. Thank you to Lynn Gray, Rich Siegel, and Donna Roth for helping find our performers, to Michelle and Kyle and the amazing media events crew at UNR, and to Oliver and Raquel at Art Town, who kindly, creatively, and above all cheerfully guided us through the process of making our events virtual and available to all of you. And last but absolutely not least, a big thank you to OLLI's director, Kristen Kennedy, who spent hours and hours and hours and hours attending to every detail of our 5 events. Thank you all so much. And now it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's performance, The Folk Legacy. Roger's introduction to folk music began in 1959 with the release of the Kingston Trio's recording of Tom Dooley, a song told in verse through 3 voices, 2 guitars, and a banjo, and chanted by the seamless blend of vocals and acoustic instruments, plus melody and lyrics that have become timeless. Roger's path was set. Growing up on Long Island, New York, not far from the iconic Greenwich Village folk music scene, Roger spent most of the 60s playing and singing in village coffee houses like the Night Hour Cafe and Cafe It. Following the infamous 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, where he performed during massive protests, Roger moved to Los Angeles, where he continued playing folk music, a mix of original compositions and traditional folk songs. Monday nights would find him performing at the Troubadour's famous Hootenanny, rubbing elbows with other singer-songwriters like Jackson Browne, Glenna Clark, and Jean Clark of the Byrds. In 1972, he traveled to Scotland, where he became enamored by Irish and Scottish folk music. Upon his return to the U.S., Roger fell in with the Irish Beggarmen, a folk group playing at Hollywood's famous Brown Derby, becoming what would now be called a fanboy, and learning all of their material by ear and by heart. When the Beggarmen broke up in 1975, 2 of the group's members moved to Las Vegas and started the group Finnegan's Wake, playing a blend of American country, bluegrass, and Irish folk music in casino lounges on the Las Vegas Strip. When a band member suddenly quit in 1979, they called Roger, who was at the time working as a loan officer in a bank, and asked him to join them at the Barbary Coast Hotel and Casino, where he sang and played acoustic and electric guitar and tenor banjo for more than a decade. Other gigs followed in casino lounges and bars. In 1981, an enhanced version of the group, renamed Finnegan's Wake of Ireland, toured northern Nevada, performing in Reno, Elko, Lake Tahoe, and the main showroom at John Esquaga's Nugget in Sparks. In 2005, Roger graduated from UNR with a master's degree in journalism. After graduation, he returned to playing music and is a frequent performer at Ron McCarty's Seal Irish Pub, as well as other clubs, pubs, and watering holes in and around the biggest little city. So here he is, the one and only Mr. Roger. Hey, Roger, how do you pronounce your last name?
Well, here, I'll show you. I've got a problem, uncommoner than most, a grammatical phenomenon that's followed me from coast to coast. The problem's my last name, it's unusual, you see. It's pronounced Scimé. but it's spelled S-C-I-M-E. So I get skime, scheme, shimmy, sheem, skimmy, and skimé. Skimey and some others too, and delicate to say, but it's Scimé. Yes, it's Scimé. Please don't pronounce it any other way. It's Scimé, but it's spelled S-C-I-M-E. Get over it, that's how it's spelled. If you don't like, you can go to hell. That's the way to say Scimé. Well, I went through life full burdened in pronunciatory hell. Ridiculed by teachers, too indolent to spell. If I'd been named as Smith or Jones, how easy it would have been. But now that I am older, I accept it with a grin. When they say skime, scheme, shimmy, sheem, skimmy, and skimé. Skimey and some others too, delicate to say, but it's Scimé. Yes, it's Scimé. Please don't pronounce it any other way. It's Scimé, but it's spelled S-C-I-M-E. There's no H, there's no A-Y. If you don't like it, eat and die, 'cause that's the way to say Scimé. That's the way you gotta say Scimé. Yeah, that's the way you gotta say Scimé. And that's a true story, folks. I had that problem with that last name all my life. This is called a folk legacy, the folk legacy, whatever. I'm a big fan of folk music. And as Eileen, by the way, that was Eileen, doing that wonderful introduction, which I wrote myself. I did. I wrote part of it. I wrote my part of it myself. And lovely Michelle over there working the video and all this other stuff. And I forgot the name of the sound gentleman or the camera gentleman, but I'm sure I'll get to it sooner or later. Anyway, I'm going to try to keep this in some kind of an order, talking about folk music throughout the years. I'm going to start off with the Kingston Trio and the song that really popularized folk music, a song called Tom Dooley. And this is going to be kind of a scattershot performance, maybe by year, maybe by genre, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, here's Tom Dooley for you, the Kingston Trio. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, bound to die. Met her on the mountain, there I took her life. Met her on the mountain, I stabbed her with my knife. But well, now boys, hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. This time tomorrow, I reckon where I'll be. Hadn't have been for Grayson, I'd have been in Tennessee. Oh, well, now, boy, hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. This time tomorrow, I reckon where I'll be. Down in some lonesome valley, hanging from a white oak tree. Well, now, boy, hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, oh boy, you're bound to die. Oh, now, boy, hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down you're bound to die. Thank you. Kingston Trio did a lot of great songs. They did MTA, they did A Worried Man, but they did a song by Hoyt Axton that I kind of like. It's called Greenback Dollar. By the way, before I continue, this is Steve Funk over here. He's playing bass with me tonight. We haven't played together a whole lot, have we? But this is like our second rehearsal. Well, some people say I'm a no count, others say I'm no good, but I'm just a natural born traveling man, doing what I think I should. Oh yeah, doing what I think I should. And I don't give a damn about a greenback a dollar, spend it fast as I can, for a willing song and a good guitar, the only thing that I understand. Oh yeah, the only thing that I understand. When I was a little baby, my mama said, hey son, travel where you will and grow to be a man. Do what must be done, oh Lord, sing what must be sung. And I don't give a damn about a greenback and dollar, spend it fast as I can, oh well it's song and a good guitar, the only thing that I understand, oh Lord, the only thing that I understand. Well, now that I'm a grown man, I travel here and there. I learned that a bottle of brandy and a song, the only things that ever care, oh Lord, the only thing that ever care. And I don't give a damn about a greenback a dollar, spend it fast as I can, oh well it's song and a good guitar, the only thing that I understand, oh yeah, the only thing that I understand, oh Lord, the only thing that I understand, oh yeah, the only thing that I understand. Song called Greenback Dollar. I mentioned genres a little bit earlier. Some of the genres that we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing some humor, some life-affirming songs. Of course, we're going to be doing some protest songs after a little bit. Americana, which is a whole new category, just showed up the last couple of years ago. It's sort of a catch-all category. And then because I couldn't figure out what category to put people like Jackson Browne in, I figured I'd call them either personal or singer-songwriter songs. So right now I want to do a song that's kind of similar in tone to Greenback Dollar. It's about somebody on a journey, and it's called, it's by the late Fred Neil. It's called Another Side of This Life. Secret just between you and me. I don't know where I'm going next, don't know where I'm gonna be. And Well, the whole world's in an uproar. The whole world's upside down. I don't know where I'm going next. Maybe just keep coming around. And there's another side to this life I've been living. And there's another side to this life. Thanks. Isn't that a great song, Fred Neil? Gonna do another Fred Neil tune after a bit. Yeah, so besides the Kingston Trio, there was another group around that time. I sound so pedantic, don't I? I sound like I'm teaching a class. There was another group around that time called Peter, Paul, and Mary. And they had a bunch of hits, too. They were a little bit more contemporary. They were a little bit more cutting edge. And they did a bunch of Bob Dylan tunes. Matter of fact, you might even say that they introduced the country and the world to the nascent singer-songwriter from Hibbing, Minnesota. By the way, this is totally extemporaneous. It's not written down. I don't have a teleprompter or anything. It's key of C. How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she can sleep in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? Well, the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? Well, the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Well, the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. That was a Bob Dylan tune. You could call that a singer-songwriter tune, a Peter, Paul, and Mary tune, or a protest song. Here's another protest song. This is also by Peter, Paul, and Mary, but it was written by a man called Pete Seeger. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. I got a hammer, and I've got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the hook of our love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Thanks. There's another song that I'd like to do, as long as I'm doing folk protest songs right now. This is one. This song was actually written by Woody Guthrie back in 1948-49. There's a little bit of historical reference here. 1948. Are you familiar with the Braceros? They were Mexicans who were brought up to take the place of Americans during World War II. Because, of course, the Americans were out fighting. They were soldiers. They brought up Mexicans. And then when the war was over, they sent them back down to Mexico. Well, in 1948, in Los Altos Canyon, had to think there for a second, Los Altos Canyon, a plane carrying these braceros went down. And in the New York Times, the following day, they had an article about this. And the article mentioned the 4 crew members by name, but insofar as the braceros were concerned, they were just called deportees. Deportees because they were being deported. Well, Woody Guthrie was outraged by this, because if you know anything about Woody Guthrie at all, you know he was outraged by many, many things. Anyway, it's a great song. It's called Deportees, but I decided to up it. I decided to make it more contemporary. So the chorus is Woody's, the melody is Woody's, the rest of it's mine. Give me a second here. See what you think. You crossed over the border for different reasons. You crossed to earn money or in fear for your life. You crossed because you had nowhere else to go, and you wanted to have the American life. You paid the coyotes and gathered your family. You walked and you stumbled, you burned and you freezed. And once you had crossed the American border, run down like an outlaw, drug mule or thief, just another dam to wet the back, thinking he's free. So goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. You won't say a name when you're back at the border, all they will call you will be deported. You scrubbed out their toilets and cleaned their hotel rooms. You slaughtered their chickens, spent time on your knees. You paid all your taxes and nurtured your family, but when all's said and done, you'll still be deported. They came to your house with nightsticks and flashlights. They came to your schools and the places you worked. The reason they gave you was protection of families, but with your family, the family you're hurt. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. They won't say her name when you're back at the border, all they will call you will be deported. Separated from your niños, from mama and papa, and drag them away to the American side. They were crying and screaming, then locked up in cages. They say you'd unite them, I know that they lie. It's no longer the 40s, but things ain't so different. The powers that be won't allow you to stay. Once you've cleaned their hotel rooms and toiled in their orchards, they'll no longer need you, they'll throw you away. Oh, goodbye to my one and goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. They won't know your name when you're back at the border, all they will call you will be deported. Thanks. I kind of like that song. Here's a song, falls into that category of singer-songwriter. By the way, I hope you'll excuse me. These are what I consider to be folk songs. I mean, what else would you call them? I mean, Deportee is an easy one, but here's a newer one by the late and arguably great, actually there's no argument about it, Warren Zevon. Any Warren Zevon fans out there? And this song is, it's a singer-songwriter song, and it's one of those personal songs. Remember I mentioned personal tunes? And this one's called Carmelita. Whoops, wrong harp, wait. As you can see, I'm used to playing in my living room where if I mess up like that, it doesn't matter. I hear mariachi static on the radio, and the tubes they glow in the dark. You're down there in Ensenada, I'm stuck here in Echo Park. solitaire with my pearl-handled deck. The county won't give me no more methadone, and they cut off your welfare check. Carmelita, hold me tighter, I think I'm sinking down. I'm all strung out on heroin on the outskirts of town. Every time I hear a siren wail, I almost have a heart attack. Big Samoan boyfriend says he's gonna come and break my back. Carmelita, hold me tighter, I think I'm sinking down. I'm all strung out on heroin on the outskirts of town. Well, I poured my Smith Corona. I went to meet my man. He hangs out on Alvarado Street by the Pioneer Chicken Stand. Carmelita, hold me tighter, I think I'm sinking down. I'm all strung out on heroin on the outskirts of town. Carmelita, hold me tighter, I think I'm sinking down. I'm all strung out on heroin on the outskirts of town. Before I go any farther, does everything sound out of tune by any chance? Could somebody please answer? This is a serious question. I woke up this morning with a bit of a ear problem, so can't really hear myself too well. Seriously, is there a? It sounds okay? Oh, okay. 1 second, folks. Okay. I'm going to try to save my butt a little bit here and do a song that I think I know. I don't have to look up the lyrics for because it's an instrumental. It's an acoustic blues instrumental tune. That's a category that I added. And it's a song written by the late Davy Graham, and it influenced a tremendous number. See, I am getting pedantic here. A tremendous number of acoustic guitar players, people like Burt Jansch, Steve Stills, Davy Graham, and Nick Drake. Everybody knows who Nick Drake is since he died. But this is the song that really started it all. It's a song called Angie. It's not the one by the Rolling Stones. There are no lyrics here. Also on a very early Paul Simon and Garfunkel album. Angie by the late, great Davy Graham. Back in the early days, before the Kingston Trio started bringing more contemporary type stuff in, and definitely before the age of the singer-songwriter, authenticity was the byword. Folk music had to be authentic. And so some of the early folk singers, Joan Baez and Judy Collins among them, they used to scour libraries and places like that to find authentic folk songs. And one of the places that they looked were what we now called world music. Back then it was called ethnic music. And here's a song that I knew well before I got into folk music, because I grew up in New York. And of course, if you grow up in New York, you're Jewish, even if you're not. And if you don't grow up in New York, you're not Jewish, even if you are. But this is a song that I learned very, very early, well before folk music. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Venus, Mahal, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Venus, Mahal, Hava, na 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 na, Hava, na 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 na, Hava, na 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 na, Venus, Mahal, Hava, na 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 na, Hava, na 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 na, Hava, na na na, Venus, Mahal. I probably should have mentioned, for all you folks out there, during the hora, that you're actually supposed to be 6 feet apart, which is kind of difficult because it's kind of a rousing song. I mentioned earlier that one of the categories was going to be children's songs. And here's one that, remember I mentioned Peter, Paul, and Mary? Well, here's one that Peter, Paul, and Mary did. And I promised a friend of mine, promised Ron that I would do this song for his kids. Otherwise, he wouldn't listen to this show. But, you know, hey, some of us will do anything to get a couple of extra folks up there. You might know this one. If anybody wants to sing along on any of this stuff, by the way, you're more than welcome. Anyway, this one's called Puff the Magic Dragon. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper of that rascal Puff and brought him string, sealing wax, and other fancy stuff. This is the chorus now. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea all kings and princes would bow whene'er they came. Then pirate ships would their flags when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Well, the dragon lived forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant's rings made way for other toys. Oh, one great night it happened, Jack the Paper came no more. And Puff, that mighty dragon, he ceased his fearful roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales they fell like rain. Jockey Puff no longer went to play along the shady lane without his lifelong friend. Puff could not be brave, so that mighty dragon sadly slipped back in his cave. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the Magic Dragon, written by Paul Stuckey. I mentioned earlier I was going to do some protest songs. So here's one. It was written by a man named P.F. Sloan. I am getting into that teaching thing. I am, yeah. Written by P.F. Sloan. And he wrote a lot of stuff. The Searchers back in those days. I don't know where I'm coming up with this stuff. Anyway, he wrote this song for a man named Barry McGuire, who you may remember. He was originally a member of the New Christy Minstrels. Anyway, you probably remember this one. I'm going to guess that you do. Let me see this one. By the way, these are my song lyrics here. Some songs you just don't remember for one reason or another. This is one of them. Although it's a great song, don't get me wrong. We're in the key of Charlie. The Eastern world, it is exploding. Violence flaring, bullets exploding. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. And you kill me over and over and over again, my friends. Well, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand? take a look around to Selma, Alabama. You may leave here for 4 days in space, but when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, the crying of the bass. You bury a dead, but don't leave a trace. Your next door neighbor, but don't forget to say great things. Over and over and over again, my friend. Well, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Well, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Protest song. Thanks. Here's one. I'm going to do some protest songs for a while. Take care of that genre here. This one's written by Neil Young. By the way, if anybody feels like singing along or clapping along on any of this stuff, just please feel free. Summer I hear the drumming for dead in Ohio. Gotta get down to it, soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been gone long ago. What do you do when you found her dead on the ground? How can you run when you know? How can you know? Us down, should have been gone long ago. What do you do when you found her dead on the ground? How can you run when you know? How can you know? Tin soldiers and Nixon coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming for dead in Ohio, for dead in Ohio, for dead in Ohio. Yeah. Ohio, written by Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Here's another protest song. This one's written by John Fogerty for Creedence Clearwater. I can't help it. I got to talk about this stuff. Well, no, when I was working in Las Vegas, Frank Sinatra told me that you should always talk about the person who wrote the song more than the person who sang it. Except in this case, everybody knew who sang his song, so, really didn't have to talk about it. But this song is written by John Fogerty. It was recorded by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And it's called There's a Bad Moon on the Rise. Well, I see a bad moon arising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Well, your things together. I hope you aren't quite prepared to die. Looks like we're in for nasty weather. What I was thinking for, and well, don't go out tonight, 'cause you're bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Don't go out tonight, 'cause you're bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. By the way, this is, I introduced Steve before. He's doing a heck of a job. Good for you, Steve. Considering most of these songs he's never played with me before. That's absolutely true. This is another song that falls into that category, that crossover between personal, singer-songwriter, and if you kind of close your eyes and squint just a bit, it could also be a protest song written by a man named Leonard Cohen. Isn't it a shame how many singer-songwriters we've lost over the years? I only want to get into that. It's called First We Take Manhattan. He sentenced me to 20 years of boredom, trying to change the system from within. Coming now, coming to reward them. First we take Manhattan, oh, then we take Berlin. I'm guided by vision in the heavens. I'm guided by this birthmark on my skin. I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. Well, first we take Manhattan. Oh, then we take Berlin. Well, I really want to live beside you, baby. I love your body and your spirit and your clothes. But to see the line that's moving through the station, I told you, I told you, I told you, I was one of those. I don't like your fashion business, mister. And I don't like those drugs that keep you thin. I sure don't like what happened to my sister. First we take Manhattan. Oh, then we take Berlin. Well, I really want to live beside you, baby. I love your body and your spirit and your clothes. But you see the line that moves each nation. I told you, I told you, I told you I was one of those. Love me as a loser. You didn't think I'd ever win. You had the means to stop me, but you lacked the discipline. So many nights I dreamed of this, to let my work begin. Well, first we take Manhattan. Oh, then we take Berlin. Yeah, Yeah, a song by the late Leonard Cohen. We're going to do another one of my originals. This is a protest song. I need my harmonica. Do I want to use my harmonica on this? I'm sorry. Sometimes I talk away from the microphone. I know it's rude. Has anybody ever considered the fact that, well, back in the day anyway, there used to be songs, there used to be commercials about places like the Peppermill. There used to be commercials about the El Dorado, Silver Legacy, all of those great hotels around here, and we had in New York and LA and places like that, the Beverly Hills Hotel. And it occurred to me that there's one hotel that I've never heard a commercial for. And so I figured, what the heck, I might as well write one. And see what you think. Would this kind of induce any of you to go visit? Oh, feel the warm breeze over the Bentleys and Mercedes in that sweet little town they call Palm Beach, where billionaires rub elbows with the haves and have-mores, with conspiracy theories for the right wing. It's like heaven on earth, where virtue's measured by net worth, and it's not who you are, but who you know. And if you're in the mood, you can always collude with drunk who owns Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, where all of your dreams can come true. If you got the bucks and you don't give a beep about anyone else but you. Mar-a-Lago, where no one cares if you're a beep. Check your bags and your conscience at the door. My God, I forgot the verse. I'm so used to using that word that's the first word that starts with F, the other one that starts with a W, but it sounds like an H. Let me see if I can get that chorus right. Mar-a-Lago, where all of your dreams can come true. If you got the bucks and you don't give up about anyone else but you. Mar-a-Lago, when no one cares if you're a Mar-a-Lago, check your bags and your conscience at the door. Mar-a-Lago, check your bags and your conscience at the door. Thank you. Hey, how about once again, I'm kind of playing around with the idea of folk music here. Remember I talked about songs that had meaning to them and lyrics that spoke of them. Well, actually, I didn't say this. I was talking about folk songs. They were heady. They talked about things like injustice. They talked about things like freedom, like poverty, like inequality. And, of course, Bob Dylan wrote Blowin' in the Wind and a slew of other great protest songs. And then there was a sea change. You probably remember this. And with one simple album called Bring It All Back Home, and I still don't know who that androgynous person is sitting by the fireplace. If anybody knows, let me know after the set, okay? I know you're all young out there. You probably don't remember these kinds of controversies. Anyway, Bob Dylan changed everything with one particular song. It went like this. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there ain't no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I'll come following you. Oh, I know that evening's empire has returned into Here's a song that falls into that category I mentioned of Americana. Remember I talked about that earlier? It's that amorphous, sort of a catch-all category. It's a song written by Jerry Jeff Walker, but the hit on it was done by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And once again, I don't know where else these songs would fit. I know they're not country. I know they're not rock, they're not blues, they're not rap, they're not hip-hop. They're not doo-wop. This one is Mr. Bojangles. Oh, darn it, I ruined the surprise. Oh, well. There's a song about, and this is also a song, I call this a story song. I'm going to do a couple more story songs. By the way, Jerry Jeff Walker is also the guy who wrote, or who sang songs like Pissin' in the Wind and Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mother. But this is one he wrote. Well, I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you. Worn out shoes, silver hair, ragged shirt, and baggy pants. Old soft shoe, jump so high, jump so high. Then he lightly touched down. Well, I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down and out. Looked to me to be the eyes of age as he spoke right out. He talked of life, he talked of life. Life slapped his leg instead. Well, he said the name Bojangles, then he danced a lick across the cell. He got his hands, got a debtor's dance and jumped so high. Licked his heels, let go laugh, he let go laugh. Shook his clothes back all around. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance. Well, he danced for those in minstrel shows and county fairs throughout the South. He spoke with tears of 15 years how his dog and him traveled about. The dog up and died young. 20 years he still breathed. Well, he said, I dance now at every chance and honky-tonks for drinks and tips. Most of the time I spend behind these county bars, 'cause I drinks a bit. Shook his head as he shook his head. Heard someone ask, please. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance. Well, I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced Bit of Americana. This is one of my songs this year. I'm just pulling songs out of here. How many people out here, anybody out here like Irish music at all? Irish pub music, the kind that they do in Irish pubs? Okay, I'm going to teach you a little part here. And please, if you don't all kind of join in, the song kind of falls apart. You know what I'm saying? And you can do it too, Steve. It's a clap thing. This is probably the most famous Irish pub song there is. And once you learn how to do the clapping part, you can walk into any Irish pub in the entire universe and you will be right at home. It's like everybody will know your name. It's almost like Cheers. It's called The Wild Rover, and the chorus goes like this. I'm going to sing, and it's no, nay, never, and then you're going to clap 4 times. Oh, you know how to do it. Great. Why don't you come on out here and lead everybody in the thing. Okay, what's your name, hon? Is that you, Joe? Oh, Paula, I didn't recognize you. Okay, Paula's going to lead everybody in this. And it's no, nay, never. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. And I'll help you a little bit on this thing. Remember, this is folk music. Well, I've been a while. Well, I'll tell you, let's try the chorus first. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. Well, I've been a wild rover for many's the year, and spent all me money on whiskey and beer. But now I'm returning with gold in great store, and I never will play the Wild Rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. I went into an alehouse I often frequent, and I told the landlady me money was spent. I asked her for credit, she answered me nay. It's custom as yours, I can't have any day. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never. Let's try that again. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. Let's see, did I already do the verse where he went in and he told the landlady that he didn't have any money and she said, ha ha? Did I do that verse? Oh, I'll do that one. I went into an alehouse I often frequent, and I told the landlady money was spent. I asked her for credit, she answered me nay. That it's custom as yours, I can't have any day. And no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. And out of my pocket I pulled sovereigns bright, and the landlady's eyes wide with delight. He said, I have whiskey and wine of the best, and the words that I told only in jest. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Well, I've played the Wild Rover. No, never, no more. I'll go home to me parents, confess what I've done, and I'll ask them pardon their prodigal son. They'll kiss and caress me like all time before, and I never will play the Wild Rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. thank you for joining in on that. And thank you, Paula, for coming up here and leading us in this particular song. Only have time for a few more songs here. Here's a song by another dead songwriter. I'm sorry, it just kind of happens. This is Tim Hardin. Tim Hardin wrote this song. But Bobby Darin, of all people, had the hit on it. It's called If I Were a Carpenter. If I were a carpenter and you're a lady, would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? If I worked my hands in wood, would you still love me? Promise me, say yes you would. I'd put you above me. See my love through loneliness, take my love for sorrow. Giving you my holiness, come give me your tomorrow. If a tinker were my trade, would you still find me carrying the pots I made, following behind me? If I were a carpenter and you were a lady, would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? Take my love through loneliness, take my love for sorrow, giving you my holiness, come give me your tomorrow. If I were a miller, had a mill wheel grinding, would you miss your colored locks, your soft shoes shining? If I were a carpenter, you're a lady, would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? Would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? I'm going to do one more song. And this is because I know a few people like it. I'd like to dedicate the song to people who are listening. I'd like to dedicate it to Roberta, who's out there. I'd like to dedicate it to Cindy, who's here. I'd like to dedicate it to Heather. I'd like to dedicate it to Betty, and I'd like to dedicate it to Kristen. This is another story song. This is one that I wrote. It's called Susan the Girl from Hollywood High. A cautionary tale, as they say. Well, Susan was 16 years old when she sent out her pictures to any and all who could help her arrive. Ambition and beauty and youth are a volatile mixture. It was only in movies it seemed that she felt most alive. At Hollywood High, Sue's favorite theater arts teacher was Mr. McRae, though his students addressed him as Jim. And of all of his students, he was certain his wisdom would reach her. So he taught her the things she must know in order to win. Let's hear it for Susan, she she's almost a star with 6 pairs of shoes and an almost paid car. In her bachelor apartment she sits and she struggles all day, revising her list of the things that she'll do when she makes it one day. On her 13th birthday, Sue landed a part in a picture. It wasn't that much, just a waitress, a really small role. But her girlfriends in 9th grade all told her she'd soon be a fixture on all the red carpets and all the right shows. She said goodbye to her boyfriend, wished him well in the future. I'll think of you often, she lied with a trace of a tear. And she thanked Jim McRae, her mentor and theater arts teacher, for his help in the furthering of her career. Let's hear it for Susan, she's almost a star with 6 pairs of shoes and an almost paid car. In her bachelor apartment she works and she struggles all day, revising her list of the things that she'll do when she makes it one day. When Sue's part was cut, she cried and she swore with a vengeance she'd conquer the system and bend Tinseltown to her will. When she finally calmed down, it was only because she remembered when you're only 18, honey, failure's the bitterest pill. La 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 la. So she dated producers and agents all through the city. She played through wild parties and nights full of color and chrome. Till they all knew her name, her beauty, and that she was easy. And she offered them what they did not get at home. When Susan turned 20, she was finally the star of a picture. Not quite what she'd hoped for, but at least, well, she was the star. And though no one at Hollywood High has yet seen that picture, her classmates predict that she'll go very far. Though Mr. McRae is insane, he's seen Susan's picture on a XXX website located somewhere in Belize. And for $9.95 and a valid credit card number, he could view her successes all night and as much as he pleased. Let's hear it for Susan, she's finally a star. She's got 6 pairs of shoes and an almost paid car, and the same old apartment she's really blessed, and goes back to her list of the things that she'll do this year or the next. Oh, let's hear it for Susan, she's almost a star with 6 pairs of shoes and an almost paid car. In her bachelor apartment she sits and she struggles all day, of the things that you do when she makes it one day. Well, thank you very, very much. I think they probably cut me off by now because it is 8:31. I'd like to thank everybody who showed up. You really did make a difference. This is the sincere part of the show. I'd like to thank everybody who's out there who may be watching, especially those of you in Italia or Bangladesh or England or other strange places like New York and Nashville. Good night, everybody. This is Art Town, right here at the Ollie building. We still have a couple of weeks left to this wonderful occasion. And despite the fact that there is a quarantine, virus, and natural catastrophe going on, I think we're going to make it. God bless you all.
Thank you all for joining us. Good night, everybody. Be well and have a wonderful weekend. And be sure to check out the arttown.org website. Festival's going on for another 2 weeks until the end of the month. Check it out. Lots more live and virtual events. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.